Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augment Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I am your host as usual, and obviously, welcome back to the show. Today's episode 215 of the show, and before we get started, let's do a bit of house cleaning quick around here because, well, it only makes sense that we do the house cleaning because you guys like it and I like doing it, so let's just get on with it. I do want to say, if you guys, did celebrate Easter this weekend, happy Easter or Resurrection Sunday, depending on what you believe. And if you didn't celebrate Easter, well, I hope you had a great Sunday and just a great weekend with your family, friends, and just had a good time because I always said that this weekend, for me as a Christian, just being honest, it's not about Easter. It's about what it represents with the resurrection and, Good Friday and things like that. But I just hope that everyone had a great weekend. I hope everyone, got the rest that they wanted in and that, they hopefully didn't have to work, too hard during the weekend and at least just got to have a little bit of fun. I do also want to say thank you guys for coming back and listening to today's episode. It does mean a lot to me. You guys constantly take time out of your days to download these episodes, to share these episodes, to constantly keep letting me know how you feel, whether you like my stupid face or not, or if you like this jersey that I'm wearing, because go Bills, because I am a Bills fan, and people are already giving me some mean looks around town anyway, so but who cares? I love Josh Allen, I love the Bills, and they're going to win the Super Bowl. So you didn't hear that from me. I do also want to say thank you to the Patreon backers for supporting the show. You guys are greatly appreciated. But I will say this, though, as a preference, because I know, or not as a preference, but as a preface, I know some people are going to tell me, Josh, technically, I don't know why you're doing this topic, even though this is also really big as well, because it is a big leak. It's just the other topic, well, let's just be honest and open and front about it, like Xenoblade Chronicles getting pushed up to July instead of September. We're going to have to talk about that too, because this is both of the things that happen, not only this episode, but even just the whole Xenoblade situation, are rare things that have happened to Nintendo. Like the Nintendo, what we're going to talk about today, isn't so rare, but the fact of how big it was and how important this leak is, yeah, it's a very interesting time at Nintendo, if we're just being openly honest about Nintendo here, which we are. And we're talking about Nintendo. So if you guys want me to do a Friday episode just to talk about this, like just so we can get a little bit more information, I wanted to let it, sit just so we have a little bit more info so we properly know, what's going on here. Because I even have like some of my notes right here next to me just so I can get an idea because, hey, we're doing a video version today. Why not? But let's get on with today's topic because we're going to be talking about the Game Boy, the Game Boy Color, and the Game Boy Advance. And oh boy, you want to talk about a system that Nintendo, I wouldn't say has been ignoring, but it's one of Nintendo's most important consoles. It has one of the biggest libraries. And the fact that, because of the death of the virtual console and things like that and how Nintendo's been handling the virtual releases or access to these older games, it's interesting that because of this leak, which I can't legally show you because people have shown in videos and they're like, hey, we got copyright strict and stuff like that. And also because the level of the information, how this information was probably acquired, could lead to some issues. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to leave a link to the tweet down below so you guys can see it for yourself. But essentially what the leak entails is that the emulators for the Game Boy Advance, and the Game Boy Color have all been leaked. That for the Nintendo Switch Online, that this will eventually be coming to the Nintendo Switch Online service, like the N64, the Sega the SNES, things like these consoles, that we're going to start seeing the emulators for the Game Boy. And a lot of people have been wanting this for the Switch for a very long time, especially because the Wii U had it on the virtual console. And it's kind of funny we were even talking about the Game Boys because I'm doing the video version. Look, I got my little Game Boy Advance right here in front of me. I got this sucker back, Glacier model with Pokemon Fire Red. I also have my, let's see if I can Trying to reach for this bastard. If you're listening to the audio version, I know it sounds really weird right now, but I got my Game Boy Color here. So got my Game Boy Color. My Game Boy Advanced SP is in my backpack. I have right here in front of me a little Game Boy game. I don't know if it's going to focus on it or not. Yeah, Mega Man Blue 3. Mega Man Blue Moon. Or Mega Man XE. Essentially, Mega Man Battle Network 3 Blue Moon. I have that game right here in front of me in Pokemon Fire Red. Soul Silver's in my backpack with my DS and stuff like that. But it's interesting because we've been asking for this for a while now too. I feel like for me, the Game Boy archive is a very important archive, whether it has like Final Fantasy Tactics, Golden Sun, obviously the Game Boy Pokemon games, Fire Rescue, Red Team, I believe is the one on there. You also had Metroid Prime Fusion. You had, F-Zero, you had Mario Kart, you had a lot of games, like especially a lot of the original Pokemon games are on there, like Gold, Silver, Fire, Yellow, Blue. You had those, Crystal, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald. Those are a lot of the big games, and giving people access to those games, especially on the Switch, because we have to be honest here. The Game Boy emulator has been a very sought after thing. To be honest, like there's a prime reason why I have my Game Boy Advance, my Game Boy Color, my Advance, or Advance SP. There's a reason why this stuff is starting to become more popular again, because a lot of people just really enjoy the handheld, they enjoy the library, and also because modding these damn systems have become extremely popular and they're very easy to do. They're not hard to mod these things to get the displays you want on them, to get, better battery, like rechargeable batteries built into them, or just new casing for them. Like it's, better buttons, stuff like that, just modding the hell out of them. Like my Glacier one, it just has the modded with the SP screen, the AGS 101 screen in it. And I personally love the hell out of this thing. It's one of my, personally, it's my handheld. Like it's the handheld that I use besides my DS Lite, besides my 3DS. And I'm currently right now, using my Switch OLED, which we'll be doing a review about that in maybe a couple weeks, maybe next month. That'll be next month's special. I got a lot of thoughts on that, especially given my original thoughts of the OLED. However, it's weird that this leaked out. If we're just being honest, especially because based on the leaks and what we saw in the tweets, that it talks about how the emulators on version 0.7, so they're not even at 1.0, so they're not even done yet. I think it's just interesting because me and my friends have talked about this multiple times about the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, especially because I have it pulled up right next to me. The value proposition of the expansion pack just really hasn't been there. I get it with the N64 games, the nostalgia. Granted, some of the games haven't really ran the best, and at the same time, the Nintendo 64 library is not necessarily the most expansive. It's not the most incredible library, because I have it pulled up right here next to me. The Game Boy library is definitely a much more impressive library, and it's definitely going to be something, because we've talked about this. People have debated what would be the next system, what makes the most logical sense to add to this service. And there's people talked about imagine when the DS finally gets added to something like this. It's gonna be crazy, especially because the DS is pretty old now. It's weird to say that, but it's already over a decade, 15 years, almost 15 years, if not already more. So it feels weird to think that we're already at the Game Boy, especially because if you look at the Pokemon remakes too, this is another prime example. The fact that the next remake is black and white, what? Black and white is the next remake in the Pokemon series. So it's crazy to think how the DS library is starting to, it's not considered old, it's considered retro. Same thing goes with the Game Boy library. The fact that it wasn't too long when the Game Boys were a very common system and still a very popular system, especially nowadays, in the retro community, and just people in general like buying these damn things because they like modding them. Also because there was a lot of good games, which is going to be interesting if I'm just being honest about this one, because we know that the Game Boy Pokemon games are expensive. I think we can all agree, anybody that's been trying to buy these things recently, legit copies of the original, Emerald, Ruby, Sapphire, Gold, Silver, Red, Blue, Yellow, Crystal. Yes, all these games are extremely expensive trying to get a legit copy. They really are. And it's going to be interesting if it is true that they are going to be included with this Game Boy, this Game Boy emulator on the Nintendo Switch Online service. If they're included, what is this going to have? Like, you could say, what effect is this going to have on the resale value for these games? Because I get it. Some people are like, well, they're still physical, so they're still going to have good value. And I'm like, yes, that's not debatable. We know they're going to still keep their value because a lot of people are going to want the physical copies. But this has also been a debate people have had with Nintendo, is this idea of game preservation and how Nintendo, hasn't necessarily been the fairest player when it comes to it, especially with, the Virtual Console was a really good deal on not only the Wii, the Wii U, the 3DS. The fact that the Virtual Console was a very popular thing in Nintendo just kind of scrapped it. So you couldn't just buy the game that you wanted individually. Instead, you have to go to a service and hope that it gets added eventually. And even then, you don't really own them because, they're all based on a service, unlike the Virtual Console where you could just straight up go buy them for a discounted, like a heavily, heavily discounted price. And you can own it and play it whenever you want. And I get it. Because I know we talked about this. Like, heck, that was the whole point of this diverging conversation. Is physical media, that we have to acknowledge that are the prices for the physical games going to go down because being added to the service. I wouldn't be surprised, especially when you have games like Metroid Prime Fusion, a very incredible game. Like, I've been trying to get that damn thing and I can't even, it's just too expensive for my blood. Same thing with Pokemon Emerald, same thing with Fire Red. I got lucky because my friend gave it to me and I traded him Final Fantasy 7. I traded him Final Fantasy Tactics for, which I know people have been wanting a remake for that game, which, let's be real, homie, given how Square Enix has been doing with this HD 2.5, let's just call it what they've been doing with Triangle Strategy and Alive, or Kill Alive, whatever that game is called. Man, it's just crazy to think about all this stuff. It's got my brain running at like 100 miles an hour right now, if I'm just being honest with you guys. It's going to be interesting to see how this is going to affect the pricing of these games. Especially because Nintendo is going to give people access to them, granted through a cloud service, but at least they're giving us access to the Game Boy emulators, which my concern is how good are they going to be? That's what's going to be my interesting thing, because Game Boy emulation right now is extremely popular. Like, they've been talking about, like, there was somewhere in the tweet where they were talking about how Nintendo was looking at the EverDrive and seeing how they did it on that, which would be weird for Nintendo to do that, especially because, like, they made the console, they should know how to properly emulate it instead of relying on, community emulators. Like, you'd assume that the people that made the damn thing know how to emulate it, because let's just be real here. You made the thing, you should know how to emulate it. Let's just be honest here. You really should. Like, this, Nintendo, you made this damn thing. You should be well aware on how to mod and emulate this thing. So, just saying. I think, to me, it's going to be interesting with the game selection. I think it also will help the service in the long run because there's just a far bigger library on the Game Boy that was actually a good library in comparison to the N64. They did have some great games like, Ocarina of Time. You had Mario 64. You had Majora's Mask. Like, you had these legendary games. But in the grand scheme of things, in the N64 library, there was only a couple of gems, when the Game Boy had a lot of gems. And then don't even get me started once you get to the DS. Like, once we get to the DS being added to something like the Nintendo Switch Online service, God have mercy how many games are going to be on there. Like, that is a nightmare. Like, that's just going to give them, well, not a nightmare. For us, it'll be a nightmare because there's so many games. But for Nintendo, they're going to print money because they'll just have almost an infinite library to add to it. And this is where it's going to get interesting for the value proposition of the expansion pack, because we know it's going to be part of the expansion pack. Like, let's just be honest here. It will be. This just adds more value because the Game Boy's library was just bigger, more expansive, and there's a lot of great games on there that a lot of people are willing to pay money for. And I think this is going to help Nintendo in the long run to get them more subscriptions. Like, this isn't rocket science. People have been asking for the Game Boy. They've been asking for the Game Boy to be added to the Nintendo Switch Online because it was on the Virtual Console, on the Wii U. Like, heck, we remember the trailer on the Wii U when they added the freaking Game Boy. It's a very popular system. There's a reason why things like the Analog Pocket sold incredibly well. There's a reason why Game Boys right now are being bought up, because people are modding them. They want to be able to have access to these systems, to these games. Same thing with like buying the DS Lites. Like, people have been buying DS Lites just to get access to, like, if they can't afford a Game Boy and AGS, then they could just AGS 101 model and they'll just buy a freaking DS Lite. And then they get best of both worlds. They can play Game Boy and, well, granted, you can't play original Game Boy games. You can play advanced games, but you can't play, original. That's the benefit of using the advanced and the ESP, that you can do that. My point still stands, though. This is going to add more value to the Nintendo Switch Online, and more people are just going to buy into the service. Would I probably buy into it? Maybe, because for somebody like me, I'm just saying this right now. For somebody like me, it doesn't make much sense to still get it because I already have the consoles. Like, I have, 3 of them. Like, I don't use my Game Boy Color because I'm gonna mod that damn hoe. But you get what I'm saying, is that I have no reason to get the service since, I already have the original hardware and I have it modded, so I have better quality. Now, playing it on my Switch is a whole different thing because, playing on an IPS and playing on an OLED is a whole different experience. Like, I love the OLED because of that display. It also will depend on how good the emulation run, which I pray and I hope that they do a good job. I'm just so worried of how they do this, especially with some of the mistakes they made with the N64 ones. Overall, how do I feel about it? I'm excited. Granted, we have to take this and be mindful that this is leaked. I will say this, though, based on how detailed the leaks are, there's either one had to be somebody inside of Nintendo, or it had to be a company that's working on the emulators. Like, somebody had to let something slip for it to be this detailed, this accurate. Like, someone's going to get fired. I'm telling you this right now. Someone is losing their job because of this stuff. So I can't show it in the video because, Nintendo would probably come hunt me down. Not trying to have that. Your boy's not trying to deal with the Nintendo ninjas. I ain't about that life, homie. But if you do want to see it, I'll be leaving a link to the tweet down below. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Are you excited for the Nintendo Switch Online service getting the Game Boy? Do you think it's long overdue, or do you think, hey, better late than never? Why not? And just let me know how you guys feel about it. Like, what are some of your favorite games from the Game Boy Advanced era? What games are you hoping that they put in the service? Especially because, just being honest here, we've already stated it. The Game Boy library is bigger than the N64 library, so they're going to have more fuel and more longevity with this service. And to be honest, I'm not going to be surprised if subscriptions go through the roof because of the Game Boy. It's just a matter of time when they announce it. Let's just be real. Now that it's leaked and we know that the emulators are almost done, it's going to happen pretty soon. I'm not going to be surprised if it's like the big E3 announcement, since we're not having E3 this year. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you're listening to the audio version, thank you guys so much for taking time out of your days to listen to these episodes, for downloading them, for sharing them with your friends, and just supporting me. Because at the end of the day, I enjoy doing this damn show without. I just enjoy doing this show. I'm just being honest. You guys know my heart. I've worn my heart on my sleeves at this point. That I've just been open and honest that this show has been just an incredible blessing for me. It's been an incredible blessing for a lot of people, and I just have a lot of fun doing it. And I know we have a lot of stuff in the work, especially because, I just want to say this now. For the video people, you guys are going to get a new entrance to the show. And we're going to be working on that in the next couple weeks to get a new intro that's special and unique to the video version, to give it a different feel, to give it a different experience. And we could be getting a new logo, which is very exciting, especially because we've been doing the show for 3 years, and it only makes sense that we finally get a new logo. Because, something new and refreshing, but at least keeps the spirit of the show alive about, the whole augmented experience, like something that represents the show. And that's the whole thing with the new video intro, is to make a new intro. But at the same time, the podcast, the audio version, is also going to be at a new intro with, new narration, with new music, and just really show the differences with the show, that there's a video version. So to give a different experience, a different feel, if you guys like watching the video versions, or if you like listening to the audio version, because let's be real, we started the show as an audio podcast. I used to be recording this in the library in a soundproof room. And here we are doing it in my dorm room because it's just easier, I wouldn't say easier, but it's just easier in terms of the setup, especially because, I get to have everything here in front of me and I don't have to move everything around because the stuff is pretty heavy. But again, thank you guys for your love and support. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. And as always, don't do anything dumb, guys. I hope you guys have yourselves a wonderful week and weekend. I know finals are coming up for everybody that's in college and high school students, that are, especially those that are graduating seniors. Very exciting times up ahead. And I just hope that you guys, hey, we're almost there, guys. Let's finish strong. Do everything to the best of our ability. No need to stress out. Like, keep it calm, study, prepare. Like, if you're worrying, if you're not prepared, hey, then get prepared. There's no need to worry about like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready. Like, look, man, do what you got to do. Study to the best of your ability. Get ready. If you're not ready, get ready. That's the best thing you can do. You rather be proactive than reactive. That's just objective fact with everything you do in your life. You rather be proactive than reactive, because, you know, nothing's going to catch you surprised if you're already expecting it to happen, you know? But I love you guys to death. And I will let you guys know if we decide to do a Friday episode, because now that classes are starting to wind down, I have a little bit more free time, a little bit more flexibility in my schedule. So we'll decide if we want to do a Friday episode, which we essentially will be talking about the Xenoblade stuff, because I have an idea of how I want to do that one. And I hope you guys enjoy. So if we do a Friday episode, check the social medias. We will be letting everybody know. But as always, guys, be safe. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. And as always, like I always like saying it, don't do anything dumb. I love you guys to death. And take care. Bye, guys.
Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.